So the materials that you'll need for this cookie decorating is obviously your cookies. You'll need your piping bags, 1, 2, 3, and then I have my last one in my fancy piping bag because I had to use my white frosting for something else. And you should also have some toothpicks, and then also get yourself a wet washcloth, just damp, to wipe the toothpicks clean. Then you'll need a pair of scissors to clip your piping bags. So the first cookie that I'm going to demonstrate is the tie-dye cookie, and in the picture it's red, white, and blue, but I'm just using the frosting colors I have. So this cookie uses a wet on wet technique, which means that all the frosting needs to stay wet in order to run your toothpick through it. So first you need to make sure all of your bags are clipped. So you want to just snip the very end of it, not too much, but not too little. A little bit. The more you snip off, the more that will come out at a time. So I'm going to snip, I'm going to do this with pink, purple, and white. You can do it with any 3 colors you want. Make a cool tie-dye design. You can really pipe any design you want. I'm going to do just circles. So first I'm going to start with a circle going around the outside of the cookie. And again, I have my piping bag for this. So you want to make the circle, you can make it as wide or as narrow as you want. And you can get as close to the edge as you want, but you've got to be careful to make sure it doesn't run over. Okay, so there's some white. Next I'll do some purple. And it doesn't need to be perfectly neat and tidy, it can overlap just a little bit. And again, you can do thick lines or thick lines, whatever, thin or thick, whatever you want. Okay, then some pink. And then do another set, and if you do thinner lines, you can do a couple sets. And you gotta move a little bit quickly because this technique, all the frosting needs to stay wet for it to work. So if it starts to dry, then when you pull the toothpick through, it won't look as good. And then in the middle, I'll do one blast out of pink. All right, then you take your toothpick and you're going to gently go one direction. We'll go out to in. So I'm going to pull to the middle, and then you wipe it clean with your paper towel. And then a little further out, pull to the middle, wipe it clean. And just do this kind of like a pinwheel. All the way in. And you'll notice if it started to dry a little bit, you'll get a little bit of a crusted look, but that's okay. The most important thing to remember is no matter what, it's still going to taste good. So you can make these kind of lines as close together as you want. Then you're going to go the other way, in to out. And you just keep running your toothpick through. You can try running your toothpick through in a swirl if you want. If you pipe a little swirl in the beginning instead of just plain circles, you can mess around with different designs, whatever you want to do with this tie-dye. All right, and starting to drip a little bit over here, so you kind of pull the colors out wherever you want them to be. Make something funky if you want, make it curl around. You could do like a whole loop on the outside, but basically you're just dragging your toothpick through to make the cool designs. In and out is basically the most standard type. And there you have it. And if you kind of shake it back and forth, if you have any holes or gaps in the frosting, that will, you have to give it like a little shake like this. It helps the frosting stick. So there you go. There's a cute little tie-dye cute cookie. And you can get fancier with the way you pipe the frosting if you want, and the way you pull the toothpick through if you want, or you can keep it standard. So this is a pretty simple design. Okay, the next cookie I am going to do is the unicorn cookie. And I have my cool little round table here. So, the unicorn, you can do a couple different techniques. You can do the wet on wet for pretty much all of it, the same technique we did there where everything stays wet, or you can wait and let some of it crust over, and then you'll get a little more polished look, a little more of that separation. So you'll start with your white, and I'm going to turn it this way, and the white, I'm just going to do white like around the snout, and you just kind of outline all the way so kind of wherever you want the mane to be. If you want a thicker mane or thicker hair, you kind of stop your white a little earlier, and then you fill it in. So first outline, and then you just kind of do another line in the inside and keep filling and keep filling and keep filling. So hopefully if the frosting is the right consistency, it will just kind of blend together, and you don't want to push or pipe too hard. But if you notice that it's not quite running together, you just use your toothpick to kind of push the frosting to the edges and to make it line up if you got any holes. So it looks like everything's nice and pretty now. Alright, so if you want a nice polished look and you want this to kind of have that separation before you put the mane on, you would do a couple more unicorns, like if you do all your unicorn heads like this, and then come back to it once it's dried a little bit. And it shouldn't take too long. It doesn't have to dry all the way, it just needs to crust over. Now if you want I cut my black bag a little too thick, so this is going to be a really kind of chunky eye. But if you cut your black bag not quite so thick, you can get a cute, oh my gosh, this is going to be a really creepy smile. This is a really thick smile. If you want the unicorn smile to kind of bleed into the icing, you get it on there while it's still wet. If you want it to rest on top, then you wait for it to dry. Okay, so I'm just gonna tell you right now, this unicorn is gonna have just an eyeball, and maybe I'll kind of go like this to make the eyelashes. Yeah, there we go. If you didn't cut it quite so thick as I did, you might be able to give it some separate eyelashes, but I'm just gonna pull my toothpick through, make a kind of a creepy looking eye. That's okay. All right, so there's my unicorn eye, and again, you don't have to do the black right away. If you want to wait and let the pipe on top, you can. So next I'll do my unicorn horn, and I'm going to go ahead and, since I'm doing a demo video, here's my creepy eye looks like. Let's see if you can see it. I'm going to go ahead and just start with it, and if it bleeds together a little bit, that's fine. So the horn, you'll go outline. I cut my bags too thick, that's why I'm not getting a very clean look right away. But that's okay, because you can use the toothpick to kind of clean things up and push it where you need to go. So there's my little unicorn horn. And if you want to add some stripes to it to sit on top, again, kind of bleed into the frosting, you can do it wet on wet. So I'll go ahead and do that. Add a stripe here, and a stripe here, and one more on top. And if you use the toothpick, you can get it to sit into the frosting a little better. And if you want to get fancy, you can do kind of the same thing we did with the tie-dye one and kind of swipe your toothpick through. I'm not going to do that just because I can see that I piped a ton of frosting, and if I swipe it, it's gonna fall off the edge. But if you just kind of push the frosting around, you can get it to do a little design or swirl or something, anything you want. Okay, so now to do the mane, you're gonna, if you've waited for this to crust over for a little bit of separation from the white, then you can go ahead and start piping, or if you didn't wait, it might bleed in just a little bit, and that's okay. So you outline, you stay really close to the white. Then you go around, outline your mane, and then fill it in. And you can use the toothpick to clean it up. Kind of push the frosting up here and down and around. And kind of just push it around till it sits where it's supposed to sit. And if you didn't quite get to the edge, you can kind of gently push it out to the edge with your toothpick. Now if you want to get super fancy, I have something called a scribe tool, which looks like a long needle, and that's kind of fun to use too. So if you want your unicorn to have just some plain old purple hair, you can just leave it like this, or you can add some pink stripes to it. You could also wait for it to dry and then pipe on top of this unicorn hair little strands, because so you let it dry, you can see the separation a little better, like I said, if you let things crust over. But for the sake of time, we'll just give some stripes like this. Again, I'm going to clean this up with the toothpick. It's a little globby. And if you want it to get swirly, you can drag it through, just like we did the tie-dye, and like I mentioned before, or you can just let the stripes be stripes, like this. So that's pretty much all you need to do for the unicorn, and you can get as fancy as you want. You can give her some tattoos on the white part of her body. You can add spots, you can add stripes, whatever you want to do, but this is a pretty simple unicorn. And yeah, there's your unicorn. So like I said before, you can do each separate part of this on each unicorn you have, and then come back and it'll have a nice little hump and a curved separate line, or you can do it right away like I did and it'll just kind of bleed together and it still looks great both ways. And if you want to, drag your toothpick through and make it swirly, see how that looks, mess with the colors, do whatever you want. There's your unicorn. Okay, so the last one we're gonna do is the butterfly, and the butterfly is probably the most complicated. Not too complicated, but I've cut these darn bags too. Okay, this is a lesson for you. Don't cut the tip as wide as I cut mine, because it will make for poorly precise piping lines. But again, if you use the toothpick, you can make it mostly work. All right, so what we're gonna do with the butterfly is we're gonna do each quadrant of the wings separately, and then we'll do the middle last. And hopefully by the time we get to the middle, everything will have kind of crusted over, dried a little bit, and you'll see those separations. And if you want to wait, again, a little bit before doing the ones that are adjacent and touch each other, so you have that drying separate line, you can do that. So we're gonna start with your black, and we're going to outline the wing in black. And you want a nice thick outline. So you really only have to do it once, but even it out with your toothpick. Push it to the edges if you want it to be a little nicer looking, and fill in as much of the wing as you can. Don't squeeze too hard or put too much on there, or it will kind of drip off the edge. All right, and then once you have that line, before it dries, you're going to fill in the pink or purple or whatever color you want this wing to be, or white, I don't know, whatever you want. And you're gonna kind of push it out until it touches the edges. And then, so every time I pick up my toothpick, by the way, I'm picking up a different one, or it's something that has a different color. So I'm gonna wipe the toothpick with my cloth to clean it off, or just get a new one before I do this. So here's where I'm gonna add my little lines. You're gonna swipe through like there, and maybe up here. I don't have an exact science, I'm just kind of making this up as I go. And maybe we'll do 2 down here to get fancy. Oh, I didn't wipe in between, so I got some pink. Okay, and then, still wet on wet, I'm gonna take my white and do 3 cute little dots. 1, 2, 3. And those will blend in because it's wet on wet. And there's one wing. And you can add more swipes if you want, more swipes, more lines. And then we're gonna do the other side pretty much exactly like that if you want it to be symmetrical. Or you can do it differently if you want your butterfly to have different colors. So I'm gonna outline with the black again. Nice thick outline. I don't know about you, but I like a heavily frosted cookie usually. A nice, lumpy, thickly frosted cookie. And whoo, just dip my hand over there. If your outline doesn't reach the edges, you can use your toothpick to kind of push it out to the edge. Then you take your pink and you fill it in. And if it doesn't spread nicely, you just take your toothpick and push it up to the edge. The nice thing about royal icing is it all just kind of lays flat after it sits a while. So all you have to do is wait and it'll be in the right spot. All right, so now you take your toothpick and we're gonna swipe and swipe. And I think we did 2 swipes over here. Here we go. And then 3 dots. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Okay, so now we have our 2 wings. So here's where, and again, if you give it a little shake like this, if any holes didn't fill in, that helps fill it in. So next, if you want it to crust over and have a nice hump here, which I think you should, it looks nice that way, but for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and just keep moving. You're going to do the bottom wings exactly the same, and then you're going to do the middle. So I'm going to quickly go through, and if I don't have that nice separation, that's okay. So we'll pipe the black outline, and again, if you want different colors, go for it. Go for different colors. And if you want to leave a little gap to help with the separation, you can do that too. I left a little bit of a gap between my wings, but it'll eventually bleed together. And you fill in with the pink. Use your toothpick to push it to the edge. Ooh, I used a lot of frosting there. I'd be surprised if that doesn't bleed in. Okay, then we're gonna swipe and swipe and swipe. And I don't think you put any dots on this bottom edge, but it doesn't really matter. All right, then we're gonna do the other side. Same thing, outline in black. Nice thick outline. Fill it in with pink. Push it to the edges just to get it to lie flat. And just wait a while and I'll just do that on its own. Then we'll swipe again. I'm noticing that this one isn't gonna quite reach the middle, so I'm gonna push that black out a little bit. All right, and this didn't quite join up here either, so I'm gonna push that. All right, so now we'll swipe and swipe and swipe. All right, so now we have our 4 wings. Kind of hard to pick it up now that I have frosting on all 4 sides. Okay, we have our 4 wings. You can tell this, see how I put a little too much frosting, it's starting to blend over on the side. That is okay, it's still gonna taste good. It might kind of fall to the edge, and I'm just gonna lay it flat so it doesn't get too sticky. It's drying already, so it shouldn't fall all the way over, but I did kind of lose that outline. All right, so the middle, you can do whatever you want. I think that since I have black everywhere else, maybe I'll do pink line in the middle for this guy. And maybe give him some stripes or something like this. Stripe. Ooh, those got a little messy, didn't they? I'll even it out with my toothpick. Maybe swipe it up for some antenna eyes or something. And there we go. Now we have his weird looking body. Yeah, this body's gonna be weird looking. Here, I'll just run the toothpick through. Yeah, that middle isn't so pretty. I'd probably do that again differently on another one. That's okay. Also, it's kind of curved the way it came out of the oven. So there's our butterfly, kind of a droopy looking one. So hopefully yours is turning out better than this one. So you can see that my pink is kind of falling over the edge over here. Like I said, in the end, they're all gonna taste good. So whichever kind you made, or if you made all three, hopefully you have a beautiful butterfly, a cute little unicorn, and or maybe a nice little tie-dye cookie. So, ta-da!